Hi, it's me again. Boy, don't the weeks go by fast? It's really interesting. It's like I snap my fingers and the week is gone. I don't know whether time is speeding up. Is it a quickening? I don't know. I've been reading the Bible, and every time I find that I spend time in the Bible, it nourishes my soul. And one of you guys commented, "You ever going to read that big Bible sitting in front of you?" Well, the writing is so small, I have to read this one that has bigger text. So anyway, yes, the answer is yes. Thank you for commenting. We're enjoying interacting with you, so hopefully you will like what we do as we move forward. And I think 2021 is going to bring a lot of new opportunities for us to interact in a more grandiose way. I wanted to do a Sunday talk every week. That was like a must. We do the radio show Monday through Friday. I want to start doing maybe some daily videos. I think that we would like to do some seminars. We wanted to do it, but this whole COVID stupid thing has got us all kind of in a position where we don't know what we can and can't do. And so we're just waiting and watching. I think that this week and the next week are big weeks in our world. I had an interesting conversation with a guy this morning at about 6:30 in the morning. I was looking at social media just for a minute, and something popped up. And it was a guy that I had met along my journey of life about 2 or 3 years ago. And I felt compelled to just send him a private text, "You're doing a good job." I felt compelled to do that, so I did it. Lo and behold, he texted me back in about 10 minutes. He said, "Thank you for saying that. And truthfully, I was drawn to emotion." He says, "Because you're the guy that got me started on my quest in life to try and help people." Now, he's doing his own thing. It's more business related, but it always comes back to where we are spiritually. And when he said that, I felt it pull on an emotional side of me, which I thought, isn't that interesting? Because I felt that I was used in that moment to send a message of love to this guy for his hard work that he does trying to help other people. And so I guess what I want to do is to tell you folks that when you send me a note, it's helpful, because it's not easy to come here and pour out your heart, talk to a camera in an empty room, knowing that there's thousands of people that will watch this at some point. Thank you for watching. But when you send me a note or you comment on Facebook or on any of the social media platforms or even on YouTube, I read them. And if I don't read them, somebody else does and said, "Did you see what that person said to you?" To the point that one guy actually said, "Are you ever going to read that Bible?" And I'm like, "Yeah, not that Bible, because it's from the 1800s. It's just on display." I have other Bibles. My dad probably had 50 different Bibles. This one right here that has larger font works well for me. But I just want to read you something, because I guess today it starts out with just saying thank you for your comments. I do read them. But it all comes back to what we're dealing with lately, which is emotions, fear, angst, anxiety. We don't know what's going to happen with this election. We don't know what's going to happen with our future. But listen to this. This is God speaking. "I know every bird in the mountains and every insect in the fields are mine. If I were hungry, I would not tell you, for the world is mine and all that is in it." Now that's God talking. It's funny to think that God would say to us, "I know every bird in the sky and every insect in the field." Think about that. And the whole world and everything that's in it. If God is conscious of all those things because he created all of them, just like you probably know, all of your pants and shirts and shoes and socks and jackets and furniture and all the things that you own, you could probably pick it out if somebody put it out on a yard sale and you go, hey, that's mine. Because we become familiar with our stuff. And that's just stuff. Imagine your children. You've created your children. You know them. You know them because you brought them up. You know everything about them. And that's God. He knows us. He knows everything about us, each and every one of us, right down to the birds in the sky and the insects in the field. He doesn't need us. We need him. So a friend of mine came over to talk to me who has some medical problems. And I thought to myself, the doctors told this person, you need to have this done and that done. And they have to remove all this and take that out and remove that. And I had my gallbladder out. Now, what's funny is they found there was a little stone in my gallbladder. And then the doctor came back and he said, okay, operation number 2, we need to take that gallbladder out. And I was like, yeah, okay, you're the doctor. But the reality is, I didn't like the pain that I had. I didn't like the emergency situation that I had. And I thought, well, if I can live without that nasty gallbladder, so be it. But you know that there's always side effects to those things that God gave you, and you remove them. What is the side effect? Well, the gallbladder holds bile, and it releases bile a little at a time. And so now I don't have a gallbladder, and I have indigestion, and I have, like upset stomach, and I can't really eat things I used to. And yeah, I can live without it. But would I have been better off saying, wait a minute, you found the stone, and maybe my body will make some more stones, but the likelihood of it getting trapped the way it did this time in that odd little spot is very, very slim. So maybe I'll just keep my gallbladder and I'll start eating better. But instead, I listened to my doctor, took my gallbladder out. Now I'm living with the side effect of I'm like on the gas all the time. I'm gas pedal, not gas coming out the rear end, gas pedal. Always my body is pumping out bile and it's making my stomach upset. I have always been the most regular guy. I could eat anything in the world, and I could eat a car if I had to, and my body would digest it because it was such a well-oiled machine. Well, the oiling machine is now gone. So I'm no longer a well-oiled machine, which is very interesting because, see, in my moment of weakness, the devil came in and took a little piece of me, which is interesting because you could say, yeah, intellectually, yeah, you can live without it. And we can live without it. I can live without my little finger too, but I want it. God gave it to me. I like it. So I said to this person, I said, well, are you sure you want to have all that removed? And it was a female person. It was all the baby stuff where you can no longer have children. And I thought, man, this person's relatively young. That would completely end that. I said, maybe, just maybe, this is God telling you to live differently, to live better. God was telling me to live better, to eat better, to treat his temple more like a temple instead of just, the way we all live. So I made the mistake. Now I'm paying for it. And the way I pay for it is I have to really think about what I eat. I have to go, is it really worth the pain and the indigestion and the upset stomach that I may get for eating this, that I could normally eat a dozen of these and it wouldn't affect me at all? I regret it. But what can I do? I regret having my gallbladder taken out. But what can I do? Maybe they would have convinced me that, oh no, this has got to go. But it wasn't like that. It was like, you need to get that out of there because, and the because wasn't because it was infected. The because wasn't because it's not working. The because I was there and the guy wanted to make a few extra bucks, I'm thinking, but I don't know, and I'll probably never know. It wasn't cancerous. It wasn't a lot of things. It just popped out a little 8mm stone, a gallbladder stone, gallstone, I guess they call it. And it got caught in this little bile duct that was so tiny that it was just sitting there blocking everything, and it almost killed me. But I'm going to continue to move forward with my life now. I share with you the things in my life. It's up to you to do what you got to do medically, but I look at life differently now. I look at life in that if God knows the birds in the sky and the insects in the field and every living thing in the entire world and everything on it, then he knows me, and he knows you, and he knows you, and everybody that's watching, and everybody's children, and everybody's mother and father, and everybody that lived before us, and everybody that's going to live after us. God created all of this. And if he created all of this, then he can fix all of this. So I remember my father telling a story, and you may remember this too. At a certain point, he went in and his heart was blocked, his arteries, and they did like a 3 or 4-way bypass. And it was like, oh my gosh, it was such an ordeal. I mean, open heart surgery is not anything any of us wants. But about 15 years later, so he got that surgery when he was like 68, which I'm coming up, that's like, I'm in the 60s now. And then when he was like 88, maybe 20 years later, maybe he was 86, whatever it was, a long time later, he had a horrible pain in his chest, and he went to the doctor, and they said, well, you're blocked again, and you're going to need another bypass. And my dad says, no, I'd rather die. I'm not going through that again. He says, God will fix me. And then he went home, and a few days later, he had another terrible pain, and he went back, and they put dye in the blood, and they looked at his heart and all his veins and everything, and they went, wow, it's amazing. Your heart opened up a whole nother vein that opened up the flow of blood, and now you don't need a bypass because your body did its own bypass. And my dad says, what? Really? Well, does that happen? He says, well, yeah, it happens every now and then. It happens to pigs. Pigs, pigs' hearts do the same thing. He says, why didn't you tell me about this before? See, now, on the second go around, my dad says, no, because you do stuff like that to yourself, and it really has side effects. The side effects being, now you got to take drugs for this and drugs for that, and you got to do this, and you got to live differently, and you got to, not that we shouldn't all live differently anyway, but there's all kinds of crazy little side effects. So my dad, here he is, 92, still healthy as a horse. And it's so interesting to me that his heart opened up a whole nother vein and bypassed the problem. So I guess what I'm saying to you is that my convictions get deeper every day. Every time when I read something, when I'm living my life, I feel more and more convicted all the time. Not convicted of my sins, but convicted in the fact that God knows what he's doing, and I trust in that. I want to read you something else. So this is what God says to a wicked person. But God says to the wicked person, what right have you to recite my laws or take my covenant in your lips? You hate my instruction and cast my words behind you. When you see a thief, you join with him. You throw in your lot with adulterers. You use your mouth for evil, and you harness your tongue to deceit. So it's interesting. If you read and you read, you start to see your own life in there. You start to see hypocrisy. You start to see what my dad saw as a young boy, the hypocrisy of the rabbis when he was a young Jewish boy. Then he came to America when he was relatively young, early 20s, I think 20, 21 years old. And he had to make a living. And I'm sure he must have gone to some churches and he started seeing hypocrisy here and there in the Christian world. And everywhere he went, he was seeing people that were saying beautiful things from the Bible, but not living them. And I think what I'm getting at is that I love to read the Bible. Whenever I read the Bible, it fortifies me. I agree with what I read. It agrees with how I live my life now. And so many people are caught up in the Word and reciting chapters and all that stuff. And I've never been good with that. I've never had a memory. I joke that I have early dementia because I just can't remember verses and chapters, and I feel inadequate. But what I realize is the more I read this book, the more God wants us to live it and not remember it. I don't need to remember the verse and chapter, even though I want to. I want to remember it so that I can help people. I can say, well, don't you know that, this, that, and the other, verse this and chapter that. But I also realize that I'm supposed to just live it. Be a living example of what I am willing to forego for the journey home. In other words, you can't take it all with you. If you only had a backpack and there was one escape pod left on the spaceship, what would you put in it? Or maybe there's not even enough room for a backpack. What would you take with you? Well, you can't take anything. Either get on now or perish with everybody else because the spaceship is going to blow up. What would you take with you? You can't take anything. Just your things in your pockets and go. Most people, they are made up of what they've accomplished. They're things. But if you put a man in a room by himself, I think it was Pascal that said, all of man's problems are his inability to sit in a room by himself, right? If you put a man in a room by himself, what's left but him, his mind, and his creator? And that mind can take you one way or the other. You can become angry. You can become upset. You can start to fantasize. You can go anywhere you want in this virtual world. Or you can be still and know that he is God, and he will then show you in your heart what you need to see. So back to my friend that came to visit me, I said, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to go to have this operation? Or are you going to look into living your life differently and maybe holistic medicine or whatever you're going to use to try and help yourself to heal? And I said, you know what the biggest problem is? I said, don't hate, don't have fear, and don't doubt. I said, because if you're angry, that's kind of one side of the equation, and you're doubtful, that's the other side of the equation. Because if you doubt God can heal you, it ain't going to happen. And if you're afraid, then what you've got is a poisonous concoction going on inside your body. You trying to heal your body? If you're trying to heal your body, don't you think that being calm, being faithful, being hopeful, having gratitude, don't you think those are the best medicine for us to heal ourselves? Changing our way that we live our lives, changing the foods that we eat. I've heard my dad tell the story pretty much all my life of when he was a little boy, he wanted an apple. And he reached up and grabbed an apple, and his mom stopped him and she says, hold on, give me that apple. And she took the core of the apple out and put brown sugar in it and raisins, and put it in the oven and baked it. And she said, just give me 10 or 15 minutes here and we'll give you a nice apple. He comes back and she says, now that's an apple. Now, what's wrong with the apple that God made? Nothing. Actually, that apple was good for you. But when you put all that stuff in it, it changes the dynamic, doesn't it? And the fact that his mother showed him who's God. I'll show you an apple. So there's all kinds of psychological stuff going on there. But so I decided I'm going to start eating better. I thought, all right, I really have to start eating better. I'm getting this arthritis or this whatever it is in my first finger here, my pointing finger. And I wake up in the morning and it's like pointing. And I go, ouch. Oh, I got to like help myself to close that finger. It's sore. Takes a while. My stomach is like upset all the time because my gallbladder's not there to do its job. My well-oiled machine, the oils aren't flowing anymore because I took out the little oiler. Little tiny, the little oiler thing. I took it out. So now I have to do all kinds of extra stuff, but that's okay. It's just another chapter of my life I have to deal with. I'm sure a lot of you guys have these types of things, right? So guess what? Now we have to be even more keenly aware of everything that we do. So I started eating oatmeal. And I thought, I really like steel-cut oatmeal. Steel-cut oatmeal. So my wife gets some steel-cut oatmeal, and we make some steel-cut oatmeal, and I put some raisins in it, and I put some butter in it, and I put some maple syrup on it, and I put some half and half on it, and oh my gosh, it's delicious. And I know what you're thinking. It's the same thing as the apple with the cinnamon and brown sugar and raisins. And it's no longer a good bowl of oatmeal. It's now a bowl. It's now a dessert. And I start gaining weight. I said to my wife, I've gained weight. I've been doing this for like 2 weeks. Every day I put nuts on it and raisins and brown sugar and butter. And I posted it on social media. One of my friends says, is that butter? I'm like, yeah, it's good. It tastes good. But it's just like eating a giant dessert. I've bastardized it now. It's no longer this nice bowl of oats. So much to learn. So much to learn from life. It's just so funny. So today I was sitting there after the conversation I had with my one friend, another friend, and I hadn't eaten. I had the bowl of oatmeal, and I was thinking, well, I'm hungry. And a person walks through the door and they said, I have some poke for you, which is raw tuna. And I happen to like it. And I thought, isn't that interesting? I'm sitting here, I'm reading the Bible. I'm searching for something, which you don't know. I mean, we don't know what we're searching for. Enlightenment. Just trying to get my headspace in the right space, you might say. And I thought, out of the blue, the door opens up and a person's bringing me some food. And I thought, isn't that sweet? Because God is constantly proving himself to us. He's constantly tickling us. I said last week, God is so funny. He's so funny. Because then we go, oh, no, it's coincidence. It's coincidence. Total coincidence. That would have never happened if you hadn't have done this and that. And then that person wanted to say thank you and they brought you some poke that they had just made. No, it's not a coincidence. If everything in life is just a coincidence, then there's no God. This is all just a coincidence. So I have learned that God is in my life every day. If he knows the birds in the sky and the insects in the field, and the whole world is his, he needs nothing. We need him. But I think what he wants from us, or what he desires to see from us, is us loving him every day, loving him and appreciating him. And I love and appreciate my Father in heaven. I feel him tickling me on the side. It's just like tickle, 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 like you do to a little kid. He's tickling me, and I laugh. And I go, stop. I know that he's there always. So I guess what I was looking for when I started reading the Bible today, I was thinking to myself, how do I tell people, how do I say, don't worry, God's got this? How do you say that to somebody? It's a coincidence, It's a coincidence that somebody walked in the door with some food. It's a coincidence that anything happens to you that's good, that you don't want to give credit to God for, and just say, thank you. I know you are there looking after me all the time, the way a father and a mother look after their child all the time. That's our job. The way a shepherd looks after the sheep all the time, being watchful. And it seems completely impossible that he could be looking after all of us all the time, but with God, nothing is impossible. But I thought, the scales of justice have tipped. I can see it as clear as a bell. I hope you guys can too. I was talking to that friend of mine early this morning, 6:30. He said, I've been having these visions lately. And I said, write them down. Write them down. And then just keep like a journal or a piece of paper. Just write it down. Like I had, my thing is like 1 or 2 words, or remember this date, November 27th. Okay, easy enough. I'll write it down. Remember the word justice. Okay, easy enough. But then what happens is that you go back and you keep a consciousness of, well, God told me to remember this, and God told me to do that, and God told me that, to remember this word. And so I write these little notes, and I look back, and all of a sudden I go, oh, God's writing a book. He's showing me this book that I get to read a word or two once every month or so. I get a word, a little knowing of some sort that I don't know what it even means. And then I have to wait another month or so to get another word. And then, but if you string that together for the last few months, all the way back to like April, I see that God was saying to me, at the end of November, it'll be the tipping point where the scales of justice will tip in my direction, says the Lord, and justice will be served. Are you guys seeing that? Are you seeing that the light is shining on the evil right now? And we are now seeing these scales of justice tipping in our direction. I know I keep saying this, but I realize that what I said last week was that it's very subtle. So I tried to tell this to my friend. I said, you may get a word or a dream or a vision, whatever you want to call it, every now and then. Write it down and see if you go back for 4 or 5, 6 months and it doesn't start to tell you a story about your life, about the future, about what you should do. So God knows all the birds in the sky and all the insects in the field, and he knows us. He knows what we need. He knows what the outcome of this election is going to be. And even if it doesn't come out in what we call our favor, then that means that there's 4 more years that we have to endure the crazy world that has been going on for the last, forever. But I feel like that probably, more than likely, we're going to see that Trump will stay in the office there, which, but it's like, here we sit not knowing the answer. Here we sit with angst and frustration, and then we're locked down. Those of us who live in an area where you have to be locked down, what are you going to do about it? I don't know. That's up to you. But it causes all these emotions. But when I turn to the Bible, those emotions, all those things, the doubt and the ugly stuff that's up here in this monkey brain, it just dissipates. It just disappears because you can't read the Bible. The Bible is the light. You can't read the Bible and have those feelings. And if you do, then you got deep problems. Because here it is right in front of you, God saying over and over and over again, I know all the birds in the sky, I know all the insects in the field, and the whole world is mine, and you're still worried? Don't know what else to say, really, because I just feel like, maybe I feel like I'm guilty. I feel guilty that I don't feel the way everybody else does. I don't know what to tell you. I just don't feel that way. I feel like I believe what he says to me. I believe what he says. So what else is there? What else is there? If you believe, then what else is there? When there's a battle between good and evil, and you are able to do just a few pages of study, and always you come back to God has got his hand on this thing and he's got control over it, yet you still sit there doubting every little last thing. I don't know. Now, there's a psychology at work of fear. You've lived your whole life in fear. You've been abused, so you're hating somebody, a parent, a ex-boyfriend, a girlfriend, that whatever, God knows what. But no matter what, it always comes back to don't be angry. Don't be resentful. Don't poison yourself. The anger, the fear, the doubt, all the emotions wrapped into a pill is a poison pill, and you keep swallowing the poison pill hoping it will kill your enemy, and it ain't going to happen. It's going to kill you. So I wish I hadn't taken out my gallbladder, but it's gone. So now I'm going to live with that, which is okay, because that's God's way of telling me, all right, you're not Mr. Invincible. Remember the movie, The Incredibles, with Mr. Incredible? For Christmas, my kids bought me the Mr. Incredible doll, the big father wearing his tights and his little, Speedo, and he was red, and he was Mr. Incredible. And for a long time, I used to say, yeah, I'm Mr. Incredible. I'm not Mr. Incredible anymore. I'm not. I'm Mr. Stupid Idiot now. Because there was a time when I felt like, I used to say to my wife, I used to joke, I can't help that you married Superman. Because I felt very invincible. But I was arrogant about it. I felt very prideful. It's like I see these muscly guys that, they're big giant muscles and, the six pack. I've got a full keg. But you get a feeling of invincible, of like you can take on anything. But these guys that are the big solid muscle guys, and the women are the same way, the ones that are real muscular and work out all the time, they are running on that treadmill away from their problems. Just like the people that are giant, fat, obese people, they're eating their way out of those problems, they think. But eventually it's going to kill them anyway. Same with the people that are muscle bound. They're like the squirrels on the squirrel cage going round and round and round, and they have all these big muscles and they look like they've achieved something, but all they know how to do is go to work and push a broom and do their job and go back and then get on the treadmill and lift weights, and there's nothing going on there. Nothing going on there. No character behind all that. So I don't want to be Mr. Incredible anymore. I don't want to be Superman anymore. I want to rid myself of all of my knowledge that I was amassing to myself that made me feel like I was a smart guy, like I was really intelligent, even though I couldn't remember a verse and chapter if my life depended on it because I've just got a bad memory. And it's funny because my dad has a pretty bad memory, but boy, when he needs it, it's right there. But that's a lifetime of work. I just have started doing this stuff about, a couple of years. And really only in this last year have I really applied myself. But I realized that I've got to unlearn. I've got to unlearn all of what I thought it took to be, here comes big old air quotes, a man. Because it's really not what I thought it was. A man isn't strong and tough. A man is gentle and kind. And when he needs to be strong and tough, he does it quietly. And a man is understanding. And a man is God-loving first, really. And a man is all these different things that I let the world kind of define what a man was for me. And I imagine you may feel that same way, ladies and gentlemen. Because we have to go out into this world and discover some of these things on our own. And I know that a lot of you folks have listened to my dad. I'm reading all these amazing testimonials on social media because we posted a little something, Roy Masters Appreciation Day. And my gosh, how sweet, how beautiful that my dad has been able to be like a dad to you. And I think to myself, was he perfect? Nope. But did he have a true heart to want to help people? Yes. And was he willing to put his all out there? Yes. And so I look at how my dad was with me in my life, and he was tough. He was a tough dad. Oh man, he was a tough dad. And I think he put his gentle heart in me, and because I connect with his gentle nature. But I know that, the way that you guys talk about my dad is just beautiful, because I can see my dad through your eyes, which is the dad you didn't get to have, or the brother that you didn't get to have, or the uncle that you didn't get to have, or the man that you didn't get to have. But I did have him in my life, and I do have him in my life. And a lot of people are like, is Roy dead? No, he's not dead. He's just, for right now, he's just done. He's just letting us, just find our own way right now. And as we should. He's said plenty for us to be able to take our manual, our life manual with us, the Bible, some of his teachings. But I wanted to just say thank you for all those beautiful, kind remarks that you've said about my father, my family, myself and my brother David for doing the radio show. It's greatly appreciated. And like that guy, I just simply said to him, you're doing a good job. He was moved to emotion, and then I felt it pulling on my heartstrings, and I thought to myself, it's amazing how, as much of a big Mr. Incredible as I've always thought I am, what a total baby I am still inside. What a little baby man I am. But I do want to be a godly man. And there is nothing that God can't do through me. Because if I am backed by God, then there's nothing I can't do. But it won't be me. It'll be God through me. And that is what I want to stress today. That what we do, of ourselves we can do nothing. What we do is powered by God. What Trump does, what we're about to witness, I think, what we're about to witness in this world, and how the Scales of justice have tipped in our way. It's powered by God. God wins. God wins. Whether we get to see it with our own eyes or not, that's another story. Anyway, there's so much beauty in this book that I would love to just come and read it every day. I'm a terrible reader, but I see all kinds of little things, and every now and then maybe I'll just, use it to bounce off of to give my Sunday talk. But I'm on a journey just like you. My dad was always on a journey. He was always and is always to this day still learning. The teacher is the student. And we're always learning and understanding. So, thank you for supporting the foundation. Without your support, we won't be here. It's important. And it allows us to, touch people and to reach out and do what we're doing. I think that in this last year, we've had to rebuild the entire website from scratch pretty much because the old one was just going to disintegrate at a certain point. It was like 18 years old. The app, we've got an app, FHUvisionapp.com. Make sure that you download it because then you'll have access to all this stuff. If it's not on the website, on your mobile device, you can listen to the radio show or watch the Sunday talk or read articles and meditate, whatever. And the nice thing is if you meet somebody on the street, you can go, let me show you something. Hit the app, hit the meditation, and you can play it for them right on the spot. Say, listen to this for 1 minute. And you listen for 1 minute, and it makes you want to go, wow, I got to have some more of that. How many people out there have heard my dad talking and talked about this meditation exercise, and it's changed their life forever? And it really does. And it talks about, you hear meditation all the time. I just read it about 2 pages ago, and I thought, oh, there's that meditation. Been talking about it for a few thousand years. So it really boils down to just being able to be still and give appreciation to our Father in heaven. I love you, God. Thank you for what you do for me. Thank you for helping my friends. Not that he's over there, because he's everywhere, but I always look over there. Anyway. All right. It's a simple one this time. I think what I'm going to do is get into the flow where I try and do 10 or 15 minutes or 5 minutes, like every day or every other day or whenever I kind of come to it, because I think that'll even be better. Little nuggets of love, little nuggets of truth, like little nuggets of gold. So, see you next week.